اسمي أوباي الرجلي خريج بارسون يونيفرسيتي درست biology بعدين درست business commerce marketing with focus on marketing and retail management. And right now I work as a sales director for a software company which specializes in social media management. And I tend to read every 2 weeks to 3 weeks, depending on the load of my work. Something related to what I do. And today's book is called Contagious. Contagious is a book by a renowned Wharton School of Business. You probably heard the name from the University of Pennsylvania, I guess. And Jonah Berger is a PhD graduate and professor at the Wharton School of Business. And the idea behind the book Contagious is about how ideas spread. Why we, as users of social media today, for example, share a certain content, like picture, image, video, versus others. Why do we, for example, talk about a certain shirt or watch we wear versus a pair of socks? What's the difference? Both, for example, are made by Polo. People would rather show a Polo shirt versus Polo socks and vice versa. Is that okay for you guys to introduce yourselves? That's fine.
أيمن درة
Ayman Ali.
خريج هندسة القاهرة ودلوقتي ماسترز هنا UofT.
Which type of...
Electrical engineer.
Ayman. Electrical engineer. Nice meeting you. And
محمد طاهر حاليا PhD student mechanical engineering.
mechanical. So electrical Ayman and Muhammad is mechanical. Muhammad mechanical. I'm trying to remember names. But sometimes it's hard. Ayman, electrical, there's an E. And Muhammad, there's mechanical, so there's an M.
Ahmed, first year PhD student, electrical engineering board.
Ahmed, electrical engineering, like my dad's name.
أخو أيمن.
أخوك؟ ما شاء الله. You look like each other.
مش قوي.
مين أكبر؟ أحمد is أكبر than. أنا أبو أحمد. And Ahmed, she did not come yet, so just for your notation. Nice meeting you. Yourself?
محمد الشرف. Mechanical, بس
Muhammad mechanical. يعني Muhammad mechanical, Muhammad mechanical, Ahmed electrical, and Ayman electrical. 2 alifs in electrical, and 2 Muhammads in mechanical. What a coincidence.
Actually, we've met before.
Yes, we have. During the ESA dinner or iftar or something like that. Sorry. And yourself is?
My name is Noor. I'm a 3rd year industrial engineering student.
Okay, nice meeting you. So people, put things between brackets here. So I had a business lunch today with someone who taught me, I'm going to say 2 minutes, she read a book, and that book is called Einstein Moonwalk, or something like that. Moonwalk by Einstein, or Einstein Moonwalk. I don't know if you've heard of this book before. And the book is teaching people how they can use a certain type of association for others to remember complex ideas. And one of the things, actually, I recall, our heritage, not trying to be Islamic or anything, but see the story about Prophet Muhammad when he was Taif. When a young man came to him with a bowl of grapes. So he told him, this is a gift. And he told him, what's your name? He said, Abdes. He said, Min Ardi Akhi Yunus. He said, Atana Yunus. Do you know her? So, when she was telling me about the idea of associating names, like, for example, my name is Oubai. That's what I said. Oubai in Arabic, but in English, Oubai. So I told him, how can I remember your names? It's very new to me. I've never heard it before. And I said, simple. Actually, I was born in Dubai, so if you say Oubai from Dubai, it rhymes. It's funny, it's true. It's really true. I'm not making things up. And people suddenly remember it, like a year later. Wow, my name is Oubai. I remember that from Dubai, fancy place. So, Ayman, Ahmed, Muhammad, electrical So back to the book, Contagious. We ask ourselves sometimes, why? So how much roughly do I have? So Charlotte, I would be very, very cautious of the time. I parked my car exactly near the door, so 6:36. So inshallah, we're going to take roughly around 45 minutes to go through the book, and then we'll leave for Q&A. Now, instead of, I know most people usually, or some people, take the Q&A at the end. For me, there are 6 chapters or 6 books, 6 steps in this book. And I want you to stop me after each one and ask questions. So we're going to take 5 minutes questions between each step. So, inshallah, within an hour and 20 minutes.
وممكن نخلي الكويستشنز كلها في الاخر عشان يعني الستراكشر بتاع الفيديوز عادة
yeah, you don't forget. Perfect. Like, very nice. So again, Jonah Berger is saying, have you wondered why sometimes some stories spread versus others which do not spread? And then he asked the question, a lot of people have read the book, The Tipping Point. And the story behind the tipping point is, the momentum of some stories, some things in the world builds to a certain degree, and suddenly it tips. It becomes what? Contagious. A lot of people, especially PhD students, graduates, postgraduates, tried to analyze events like a thawrat, like revolutions, like, why Hush Puppies, the famous sneakers, was very famous back in the 1980s. Why certain cartoons are so memorable, like Snow White was produced in 1948, I think, or 47. And still everyone today loves it and talks about it, from all generations. Millennials born in 1990s to people born in 1952, 56. They still remember that movie. And the idea of Contagious, in Jonah Berger's perspective, he said, instead of me come and try to come up with theories which are, spur of the moment, or my perception of ideas, he's trying to dissect. I think that certain idea was spreadable because, or due. He said, no, I'm going to analyze into practical, logical steps how I can make ideas spread. So he came up, after his analysis, I think over the span of 5 years, of 6 steps. And John Berger claims, if you apply most of those steps, he didn't say all or some, he said most. If you apply most of those 6 different steps, you are guaranteed as a company, as a political leader, as a social influencer, to gain momentum of your idea, and that your idea spreads. The main pillar of this book is around word of mouth. I'll take that. So according to Jonah Berger, he says, let's say that you decided to go right now and buy an item. Could be transactional, like a book, cell phone, or it could be a big investment, like a car, assuming it's your first car or first home. So what would you do before you buy something? You do a research. So according to Jonah Berger and his colleagues who wrote the book Contagious, is people are more inclined to trust recommendations that their neighbor, their peers at work, polls on the internet, neutral reviews versus any message which is a company sponsored. Yeah. For them, they say, human usually are inclined toward trusting each other. And if I tell Masalan Muhammad, sorry, your name is? Hazim. If I know Hazim knows me, or I don't know Hazim, but Hazim say, I'm looking for a book on the shelf, the chapters, and I'm wondering which book to buy, probably something with a nice cover, and Hazim says,
hey, you're looking for a book here, right? Correct. I think you should read that book. Although I don't know Hazim. Hazim doesn't know me. But I would trust sometimes what Hazim says. He read it. He knows something that I don't know. It might make me cool. So the 6 steps are, if you want to write them down, I'm going to say them slowly, actually called steps. The first letter of each word is S, T, E, P, P, S. These are 6 different steps towards gaining, popularity of a certain idea or behavior or brand. The first one is social currency. The second one is triggers. The third point is emotion. The fourth point is public or gaining publicity. The fifth point is practical value. And last but not least are stories. Social currency, triggers, emotions, public, practical value, and stories makes the 6 different steps of the word steps. I wish I can show you this presentation, but here we see George Washington on a dollar. And basically, here we will be talking about the idea of social currency. So, what did I do? Sorry. Social currency. So, the idea behind social currency is, as a human being, we share ideas and things which makes us look cool and good. So, for a brand to associate their product with a good intention or a good cause, that is guaranteed, at least, for an idea or for that brand to become spreadable. He gives an example. Let's say that you're being told it's your first day at university and you came wearing a suit and everyone around you is wearing jeans. Or, like the movie 22 Jump Street. Did you watch that movie? Or 21 Jump Street. It's a very nice movie if you want to have some good time. So, both the actors decided to go undercover, to enter the high school, to uncover some sort of a gang spreading drugs among the students. So one of them was actually used to wear, 10 years ago, used to wear his bag in a crossway, I don't know what you call it, like just two laces behind his bag. So his friend told him, don't do that, because if you wear it this way, you will look uncool. The guy didn't believe it. So the movie goes on, both undercover cops, dressed as students, went to the high school. And one of them was wearing, the bag just with one hanger. And everyone around him was wearing the bag with one hanger as well. The other one was wearing it with 2 hangers. And everyone was giving him that dirt. Was like, this guy must be an outsider. It doesn't look right. Which made him uncool. So here's the idea of social currency. That people, sometimes, they will exchange money for recognition. Give an example. If your professor in a class decided to say, whoever gives the right answer, I'm going to give him $1, $5, whatever. A lot of people will be inclined to answer the question. Versus another teacher who says, whoever answers the right question, he will be praised, and next time he will give a nice presentation to others. Which one would people incline to do more? It's the second one. It is the inclination to be recognized. Human beings would like to be recognized. This is why, according to Jonah, any idea which makes people feel good, looks cool, and talk about themselves, be self-rewarded, this is guaranteed to be a viral and a good idea because people love to shine. Now, said, when you share personal opinions with others, you activate, when you talk about yourself, you activate two areas in the brain, or the areas, so not really, an area in the brain, which, and this is where he used the word social currency, activates the same pleasure area in the brain, similar to when you get money. It produces the same chemicals. Again, the author, Jonah Berger, is a Wharton School of Business PhD professor. He used a lot of scientific methods to prove how ideas becomes viral. And he said two things. He found out that people will take a pay cut to be heard. Yeah, in North America, they asked people, why are you unsatisfied with your job? Money was not number one. It was because they were not heard, they were not respected, they were not appreciated. They would rather get paid less for a place where they feel they belong. The second one is people don't want to be motivated or don't want to get paid to be motivated. It's not right, Danny. If a manager comes and says, you know what, I want you to work harder because I'm going to pay you more. That's wrong. Yes, I want to make more money. Absolutely, life is expensive. However, what he's saying is people can get motivated internally, not externally by money. Money is a good thing to have, but you need to activate their social currency inside, their ability to be heard, to look cool, to look great, to look basically successful. Now, last but not least, in the first point of steps, which is the social currency, he said there are 3 points you need, or 3 steps you need to do in order to make an idea gain social currency. The first one, you have to find the inner remarkability. Someone who is an undergrad has different motives than someone who is a grad student. A grad student, among you guys, for example, you want to do a research which will make you employable, right? And at the same time gains you recognition. Have your papers printed in social magazines. Bainama someone like you, she's an undergrad. Probably her aim is to become a master's student and then a PhD. So her motive is to get high grades so that she can get in the program she wants. And a smart person needs to identify what is the inner remarkability of the group he is addressing. That's number one. Number two, you need to leverage the game of mechanics. And what he's saying is, you need to create a visible metric so that people can see. When the professor of the university tell others that I will praise you, but you will come stand beside me and give a 5-minute presentation, he's going to get excited, especially if he's one of those UofT professors who won a Nobel Prize or something like that, or who worked on a very famous project. He said, one time I did this project with that professor. So that's the mechanics, right? Gets people excited. Last but not least, is make people feel insiders. What do you mean by make people feel like insiders? I am now an outsider, because all of you are what? UofT students. So by you being kind enough to take me downstairs, Shukran Ahmed, he took me downstairs to the prayer area. You made me feel like what? Like an insider, like I belong. I pray with everyone else, so it's like, I'm an insider. Well, not a UofT student, but it made me feel. The second point in steps is, so S, social currency. 2 is trigger. Now, according to him, top of mind is at the tip of the tongue. Let me repeat. So I'm going to make something unconventional. I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to say one word. And you will respond with one answer. يعني مثلا نقول حم, right? Respond with one answer of what that word is associated with. If I tell you, أعطيني brand واحد when I tell you luxury.
Rolls Royce.
Perfect. Give me one brand when I tell you cleanliness. Dettol. Yes, or Tide. صح. Let me give you one word for something tasty.
Spaghetti.
Spaghetti, lovely. So top of mind is what? Top of tongue. So if you, the idea is, how can this help me spread an idea? That's a great question. Well, basically, if you can make a certain idea top of mind, people always think about it, it will be the first thing that they will say. In Arabic we say, زلات اللسان ماذا؟ تظهر خفايا القلوب. Right? زلات اللسان تظهر خفايا القلوب. Because this is what? Top of mind. They say. When people actually joke and they say, I'm joking, they were not joking. They actually meant to send you a message. But they want to cover that message in a smart way. It sounds so innocent, but it's actually smart and cunning and not nice, but everyone gets away with it in all cultures. بالعربي, بالأجنبي, بالفرنسي. Look at you. أنت مثلا, you look مثلا big or big boys. Like, you gain some weight. I'm not going to tell you that. Big. Oh, you're great actually. I'm joking. You're not joking. I know it. I get it. Now, to sustain word of mouth for an extended period of time, مثل ما قال لك Rolls Royce, Dettol. Dettol is a very old product, by the way. It was produced like حوالي 70 years ago. And you're not 70 years old. You're fairly young, mashallah, عليك, probably 29, 28 years old. So, could be older, so you're going to be happy about yourself. Now, what made Dettol top of mind for you? Over generations. This is what he's saying. He says, you know, that trigger is top of mind over the idea behind making things top of mind and top of tongue, tip of tongue, is to make it memorable over an extended period of time. So people do not forget it. Like the story of, what's his name? I forgot the name in English, I don't remember it in Arabic. Tajir al-Buduqiyya by Shakespeare. What's it called? The Merchant of Venice. Perfect. Tajir al-Buduqiyya. Everyone remembers it. It was very old. So he's saying, so instead of having an idea to be catchy, what you need to do is you need to associate it with the environment. أعطيكم مثال. ليش بادعاءات الحكومة المصرية مثلا? Not politics, I just no serious example. They always put the parents. السفارة المصرية parent. الترويج للسياحة في مصر الparent. الأكل المصري الparent. الفول المعلب المصري has to be apparent. المنتوجات الجلدية المنتجة في مصر there's a parent. It was apparent. Why? Because once people see a parent, what they're going to Egypt. It's Egypt. And here was he saying, it's not about, you know, writing something which is catchy. يعني حاجة حلوة. No. It's about associating it with the environment. That's why every time we see, you know, a maple leaf paper, what do you remember? Canada. Although it might be something else. Even if we're in China, remember Canada. Because the Canadian government, when they branded the country, always they have the leaf. The maple leaf. And that created what? Top of mind, tip of tongue, tip. Now, this lady here, I forgot her name, but I think her name was Rebecca Black. Do you know the story of Rebecca Black?
No.
So,
Singer.
Rebecca Black is a singer, and she produced a song, as far as I remember from the book. And the producer of the song decided to release the song on Friday. And people remembered that one day in 1920s, 24, 29, the stock market in New York crashed on Black Friday. It was a sad song. And people remember the song. Yeah, they were saying here on the second slide that when they measured the social, basically behavior or the social mentions of that song, it always spiked on Friday. Why? Her name is Victoria Black, and she released a song on Friday. Black Friday. always resulted in that song being number one or being highly consumed. So the idea, if you associate something with something part of the environment, it will gain popularity. If you try to sell a t-shirt in Alaska, it's not going to fly. If you try to sell Canada Goose in Dubai, it's not going to fly. You have to sell something or promote something associated with the environment around you. Now, the third point of steps, ST, social currency, top of mind, and the second one is E, steps, is emotion. So, there's a saying in English, sharing is what? Okay, sharing is caring, which means if I care, I would share my food with my neighbor. I would share a good advice with, I'm trying to buy a book. Muhammad decided to tell me, no, you're not Muhammad, you are Ayman. You're Muhammad. You're the mechanical difference. So Muhammad will tell me, I read this book. He said, no, this book. Or Hazan. Well, I'll basically say, if he met me probably at an Apple store and I'm trying to buy the iPhone 6, not to say it bends, I'm saying, I would say, wait a little bit. Or get a case. You know, like they were selling a $90 case on top of the price of the iPhone because it doesn't bend. So he's going to give me an idea why, because he cares. Not that he knows me, but he wants to be a good citizen. So when we care, we share. And what he's saying, according to Jonah, Berger, is naturally contagious ideas and thoughts evoke some sort of an emotion. And what he's saying, make sure to associate your idea with a positive emotion, or a positive emotion better than a negative emotion. And even if it's a negative, it should not be sad news. Angriness is okay. High emotion, high adrenaline. Fight or flight. Or positive, I'm cheerful, I'm happy, I'm successful. And what he's saying is, when people are aroused, excited, they tend to share what? Ideas. When people are happy, they tend to share what? Recommendations, stories, to make themselves happier and to tell others that they are happy. I'll give you an example. Imagine a politician, we're not going to call names, is appearing on TV, and they're telling him, your country's economy is down the drain. People don't have food to eat. People don't, we don't even have enough reserve in the bank. And he's wearing a very nice suit. And he loves fancy watches like Rolex, Breitling, Omega, whatever. And he's crying. He's crying. And whatever he says, if you actually put the emotions aside, has no substance. It's BS, bullshit. But he's crying. And they have some music and some pauses. It's a politician. And people, all they talk about, the president is talking. Or a politician is talking. Or that lady on TV is crying. What did he do to her? So an emotion arouses people, makes them, focused and attached to the message versus, a message without emotion. Imagine, a politician coming and saying, today we do this, so and so, and this is my, agenda. No. Politicians don't do that. They train them how to move their hands. They train them how to, exchange their vocal pitch high and low. They smile and they lower their tone when they're saying something sentimental. Right? Do you remember when politicians talk? Why? Because they're trying to make their ideas stick and evoke emotions. So we need to focus on high arousal feelings like the almond the excitement, amusement, anger, content. People do funny things when they're angry. They stop thinking. They really stop thinking. They're just angry. And when you put them side by side, they help me understand why you're angry. And they talk about what they're angry. Wait a second. I should not have been probably that angry, but I was angry at the moment. So here, when we share, we care. When we care, we share. Sorry. We share, he said, according to Jonah Berger, 4 types of information. Number 1 is we share useful information. Hasn't told me about that book. Or Muhammad told me about getting, or wait, or get a case with my iPhone. We share interesting information. Noor, for example, told me about, an interesting course for my elective. We share awe-inspiring information. You're doing your PhD in mechanical engineering and you came across this very nice paper and you can't wait to tell me about something interesting that you're waiting for it to be published in one of these scientific magazines. And finally, we share pleasant, positive information. They have a saying in English, no one wants to be the bearer of bad news. No one. It's like the elephant in the room. Everyone sees, that, something is broken. But no one's going to say it. It's a funny thing when a gentleman's zipper is unzipped properly, unzipped or not zipped properly. Everyone sees it. Everyone. But no one wants to say it. Because no one wants to be the lame person. Just leave it. Pretend you don't see it. It's negative. It's just an example. So people share it positive. However, if he was wearing a nice tie or a nice pocket square, woo! I want to be the first one to praise him and as, giving that feedback back. Or have the loop of positive reinforcement. I like your polo shirt. And suddenly you're happy because it's a polo shirt. And then you tell them about your polo and everyone's looking at what? At the polo shirt. That's just an example. Now, again, the question for him was, do we share positive or negative? He said we tend to share positive information, but even if we share negative information, we try to cover that negative information in a positive connotation. We try to mask it. We try to make it less than, or less worse than it actually is. So, when he's saying that at the end of the day, no one wants to be that mean person in the room. No one wants to be the person who's spreading negativity. No. Some people do, and they are the bad apple in the company. They get fired first, or they get fired from the group. You don't want to work with them in a group project or something, but they exist. We live with them. That's life. There's a nice basic here, a nice description where he says, if you take negative and positive, and high arousal and low arousal, and you're trying to say to attach your idea, your product, to be high arousal and positive, it will make sure it will win over something which is low arousal but positive. A high arousal which means is positive, it's happiness. Low arousal is what? Negative, sadness. Now, the fourth step is P, and he's saying it is public. So, what he's saying, if it's built to show, it's built to grow. That's a very interesting idea, especially in some of the North American campaigns in the non-for-profit industry. Who heard here with the polo cans? Who heard of Movember? Perfect. So you know what Movember is. So Movember is, some people wanted to raise awareness of prostate cancer, and in order to, raise awareness of something people, excuse my language, don't see, like prostate, what they decided to wear their mustache. Although in North America, people usually don't wear mustache. Why do I wear mustache? Because here, the average person do not wear mustache or a beard. So they took something which is hidden, and they decided to wear a mustache. Or breast cancer, you see that they're wearing the actual, I don't know, pinky ribbon. Why? Because they want to show the world that there's something hidden, and by giving it exposure, it becomes what? It becomes top of mind, it becomes popular and shareable. So here he said, if you come up with an idea or a product and you manage to make it public, then you are a winner. Because public sheds light on what you're trying to spread. And he gave a very interesting example. He said they took a study at hospitals where people need to receive a kidney transplant. Usually, in these hospitals, people wait for 6 months to a year, if not more. And it's a first come, first serve. And according to the author, in some societies, people with power and money, they can probably spend money, give a donation of $1 million and speed the process so they get ahead of the line. That's what he said. He said, if someone who's an average or does not have money, does not have power, was given a kidney transplant, for example, in a shorter period of time, and he was told that other people had bypassed and said, no, we're going to wait, he or she would assume right away, there's something wrong with that kidney, I'm not going to take it. So it is not public. Why other people refused it? I'm not going to take it. Another idea. If you go to a technology store, chances are you would rather spend the extra 15% on a non-open box product versus an open box product for the same product. If someone takes a nice, Mercedes, drove it outside the dealership for even 1 kilometer and returns it back, the price will drop at least 30%. Why? There must be something wrong with it. It is not public. It is not popular. But if I see the same person driving the Mercedes, downtown Toronto, I say, oh no, I want to get that one. I love it. Let's say he returns it like, no, I want to get a newer one. So what you're saying is, we as human, we ask for social proof. Everyone wears jeans, it means jeans is cool. I want to become cool like everyone else. And this is where things become public, it means things become popular. There's a nice image here of 3 monkeys, and we all know, I don't hear anything, I don't see anything, I don't say anything. And the idea here is behind those 3 monkeys, and ideas to spread is, if a certain idea is not approved by at least a group of people to go out and make it public, it will be hard for that idea to become spreadable. There has to be some sort of endorsement. أعطيكم مثال. When مغنية becomes a face of a certain brand. Why? Because they want endorsement of someone public and popular. And the idea behind the 3 monkeys is we follow the herd. أعطيكم مثال. You're downtown Toronto and you want to pick a restaurant and you see 2 diners. One where there is a waiting line, حوالي 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes to get your burrito, and the other one like empty. It's more convenient. I think go there. No. That is popular. I want to go there. And the other guy's suffering. It's hurting. Why? Because we're human. And what is he saying? Al-Qati'a, al-hurt. We follow al-Qati'as. Everyone goes there. I want to go there. There's a nice picture someone once shared on Facebook showing 2 people going to a movie theater. The first one in Arabic says, حقائق مؤلمة. and the other one is أكاذيب مفرحة. And everyone's responsive أكاذيب مفرحة. No one wants to say حقائق مؤلمة. It's negative, it's sad, and it's not popular. Last but not least, the idea of socks is why people would rather wear a polo shirt, for example, a Ray-Ban, a Burberry scarf for the ladies, and everyone talks about it. And no one talks about, socks made by Louis Vuitton, because you're not going to show your legs. I am wearing socks by Louis Vuitton. No one cares about it because no one sees it. So probably someone who's wearing a Louis Vuitton or Burberry scarf, which costs like $400 or $500, might go to Walmart to buy their socks while sharing, because no one sees it, no one cares. But if it's public, people will care about it because it says something about who they are, about their public image. The fifth point, we're almost done. The fifth point is it's the corn season. Is it corn season? It's the corn season. You should actually go to this weekend to pick up some apples and corn before it's over, by the end of October. He's saying, what's the relationship between an idea which spreads in some lime and some corn? Well, this is just a presentation, but the idea is for an idea to become spreadable, it has to bear, to have, to own, to project a practical value. So, if we know something is not beneficial, which means if someone, heard me saying, promoting something that is not helpful for others, I will look uncool, I will look lame, I will look unpractical, and people will not listen to me. Similar to an idea. So there is a brilliant quote by a gentleman by the name of William F. Buckley. I don't know who that person is, but what the book says. Which single book would you take to a desert island? And the answer was, a book on shipbuilding. Let me ask you another question. If you're going, 2 weeks ago, the Egyptian Student Association went camping with Hassan and the folks. I've been there, I tried just to not make it. And I bet a lot of guys would carry on, if they have it, their Swiss Army knife. Because they think Swiss Army knife is what? Example. It's going to be in the woods. Although they are pretty sure it's equipped with electricity and everything. No? Okay. They would carry the Swiss Army knife because it's helpful. Who knows if I encounter the bears, pull my knife and defend myself. I'm just joking, but reality is there are bears in Canada. So, if something we know has value, it will be spreadable, it will be shareable. So people like to help others. People like to wear the S, the hero type. I came to the rescue. My French, au secours, aidez-moi. So they want to become what? Heroes. So, and what he's saying, to promote sharing through practical value, be aware of two things. The first one is how the information is packaged. I'll take a mithal. A lot of the time we buy stuff which are packaged so beautifully, although the content is what? Oh, this beautiful content. Here. Imagine something like stinky, whatever. It's not nice, like junk food. Usually junk food is packaged in what? Yellow, orange, red. All these colors are what? Exciting. Creates arousal. Positive. Awareness. So how you package it? Pleasant information is desirable. Unpleasant information is not desirable. And it has to have 4 subset key elements. Have you heard of KISS? Have you heard of KISS before? What does it stand for, Hazit?
Keep it stupid simple.
Keep it simple, stupid. Yes. Keep it simple. Dumb it down. Make it so simple that anyone, whether it's MashaAllah, the Egyptian Student Association, or we have MashaAllah 5 PhDs for God's sake, and PhD to be, and smart people, and someone selling hot dogs. Probably high school. It doesn't matter. Everyone should be able to understand that idea, and this is how the idea becomes what? Spread over. How you package it. KISS. Keep it simple. The second one, narrow the audience, package the content in a way which reminds people of a specific friend or person. When I introduce myself, what did I say? My name is Oubai from Dubai. That's not true. Has no asked where you're from, but you are studying mechanical engineering? Physics. See, I didn't ask him. Has in physics, there's a Z in both. I should remember that. And seriously, Mohammed is laughing about that, and he's a mechanical engineering student. Ahmed is an electrical engineering student, right? Ayman is an electrical engineering student, and Ahmed is...
That's right.
Now I got it all. That's all. I was just really trying. But the idea he's saying is, if in order to make things memorable, associate with the environment. Make it something that once they see it, it reminds them of, let me give you an example. Imagine you smell your friend within the Egyptian Association eating something. I tried it once, it tastes so good, it's so baffling. Fatir and Shadid. And he was eating it in the microwave. And he passed by the microwave. The first thing, of course, you want the bite. If he's generous or she's generous, if you give you a piece, who knows? She likes you or he likes you. But I bet you the first thing you remember is Egypt. Because that whole smell reminded you of what? Of where you came from. نمر على الديار ديار ليلى قبل الجدار وذا الجدار وما حب الديار شغلنا قلبي ولكن حبه من سكن الديار. So for him, the idea is Layla reminded him of his house. Oh, you got my point. No, it's about the receiver. So everything we said in point 1 through 4 was me pushing positive, me pushing something sparks arousal, me being helpful, me. But practical value is about others. It's helpful for others. It is positive for others. It makes good sense to spread it because it's a common good. It's good for the common people and the society and the circle around you. The last point, I'm talking too much, 718. It's, who remembers this? Shall I make a picture?
Trojan horse.
Exactly. Who watched the movie by Brad Pitt in 2006? Troy. Remember the story of Troy? Not the Hollywood one, because they always had love and emotions and blah, blah, blah. That's not true. Part of it as well. Actually, it's about people fighting, and they just could not break in. You know the story. And then what they did is they created a big horse-shaped horse statue to say, okay, we have lost so many years, and we decided to honor you by sending you a gift to showcase our defeat. شوف the idea. خلنا idea. شوف احنا انهزمنا امامكم عشان كده رح نعطيكم مثلا هذا الاهرام ولا هذا الهورس عشان انتوا غلبتونا لانه احنا بنحب الهورسات في بلادنا. So they gave him the horse. And they were drinking and dancing at night, you know the story. نزلوا من الهورس واخذوا القلعه وفاتوا على المدينه. You know the story. So what this has to do with spreading an idea is the story itself. So what he's saying is, if you associate what you're saying, what you're selling, what you're promoting, political candidates, try to share all communication with the people you're trying to influence. Through what? Through the story. Because people sometimes, forget a lot of things, but remember what? Remember a story. We're inclined to love stories. And what he's saying is, if you take the information you're trying to spread and you inject it into a story, it will be very hard for people to forget your information. Because at the end of the day, they remember the story. And an older person, a younger person, male or female, will be able to tell a story. And that story should better be your story. And, this is why, we all remember, Abla wa Adda. Why? Because it's a very nice love what? Story. Right? Why we remember, what's the name of the guy who killed himself and then she woke up from her sleeping? Romeo and Juliet. We remember what? The story. A lot of the times, while we're kids, they teach us stories about who we are and who we were, because stories are transferable attributes. So, this is basically the ideas or the 6 different steps how Jonah Berger thinks we can have an idea spreadable and continuous. My time is up. It's 7:22. Thank you so much for excellent listening, and I